Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting version of Chip Talks podcast. If you guys don't know, I've done probably 80, let's say, longer form talks on all manner of health, usually under the endocannabinoid system, but I've actually done a bunch just that focus really in on specific conditions. And in those talks, I try to describe what's going on, kind of the way that I'm seeing it with these new eyes, let's say, new kind of science, more logical, truthful science, the stuff they should have taught you in school that didn't, all that stuff. So we try to kind of use those eyes to break down human function and human disease. And so if you go to YouTube and just put in Chip Paul, you're going to find all you want on those videos. And again, we make products, so there's always an easy solution, let's say, to a lot of those things. But I'm also going to tell you how to defeat those things on your own. So what you can do for your own health and function and all that in order to really beat disease. The other thing that I'm always trying to do is figure out the commonality, right? So we work like an elegant machine, which is really, really cool. And we have a lot of commonality. We have a lot of elegance and we have a lot of, let's say, logic to how we work. Now, why we're taught in this confused and chaotic and really unlogical manner, who knows? I mean, the reader can draw their own conclusions. I've drawn mine, so I think I know why, but up to you guys. So I'm not going to give you any of my, let's say, ideas. So there, well, I might on other platforms, let's just say. But anyway, up to you to kind of decide why this information is so scattered and bizarre and withheld. But I want to show you something. So again, if you look at all disease, you begin to see commonality in things. So certainly we have a lot of commonality in like how the narrative wants us to behave, meaning that the narrative really wants us to be fed all the time. That's a far less energetic situation. So we need to be 5 hours past our last meal. And if we are, we're in a much better state. We're much more able to defend ourselves. We think better. We're not as impulsive, blah, 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 all kinds of stuff, right? So I've done lots of videos on fasting and fed. So go find them. But there's other things to look at. So again, if you begin to look at all disease, you find commonality. Like, so for instance, cancer used to be, we never admit that cancer was bacterially caused. Well, we're admitting that now in real science. So, we have, pylori causes stomach cancer, HPV causes cervical cancer and things like that. So we're admitting that some bacteria can cause cancer. We also know that radiation can cause cancer, right? So what do those two things have in common? What's DNA and how your DNA gets adducted? Adducting means stuff gets glommed onto DNA. So the DNA story is not as all nice and neat and elegant as we think. DNA is kind of like a big antenna, and your body's constantly reconfiguring that antenna to, receive different vibrations to do different work. So, you might be doing work down one anti-inflammatory pathway. So you need to kind of resonate at a very anti-inflammatory resonance frequency in order to kick off all the anti-inflammatories in your body. So that's, looking at the way that you work. There's even a deeper thing underneath that called biofields, right? So DNA is a good way for cells to communicate with each other. So I'm going to make a protein. I'm going to send that out to my buddy, and I'm going to tell him kind of what I want him to do or what somebody else told me, but they want me to do. So I'm going to kind of use this signaling, to configure my buddies and kind of, point to point, cell to cell kind of stuff. But, how a liver knows it's a liver and how the cells in a liver know to configure that way, how your heart knows where to go in your body, or your lungs know where to go, or your stomach knows where to go. That's not DNA, boys and girls. That's something else. And it's looking like that's something called a biofield. But let me walk you through along those lines. So now if we know that there's this sort of lower level to things, as we understand that lower level, we can begin to reconstruct kind of human function back up, and not so confused and chaotic manner that we're taught it now, but we can begin to reconstruct it up in kind of a logical fashion. And it's way easier to teach people stuff, right? So let me just show you this. This is really cool. So in the body electric, so your body is certainly electric. It can generate, let's say, potential. So electricity works just like water. Okay. So you have a bunch of water in one place and then you have less water in another. you have pressure, right? So you have basically those water wants to equalize in pressure. And so it will try to equalize. If you keep it between a barrier, now you've got a lot of potential built up. Well, your body works the same way. So my hands go backwards on the screen. It's always hard to do. So pH works this way, right? So pH can form gradients and form potential and pressure, and your body uses that to do work. Voltage obviously can do this, and that's what electricity is based on. And then also ions. Ions can do this and form pressure. So your body uses calcium and things like that to form pressure. This pressure where does the pressure and where does the pressure come from? Inside or outside a cell, inside or outside of mitochondria. And your body uses these different pressures to do work. Okay. So it's really important, let's say, how stable a cell membrane is, because if it's not very stable, I can't create much potential. And so I don't have very much ability to do work. So check this out. This is pretty cool. And then I've got to go. I've got a call. I didn't realize I'd gone so long. So I just want to point out here that these tumor cells all have less of a membrane potential. So they have a more permeable membrane than non-tumor cells. Although we do have some non-tumor cells here, but they're proliferating cells that have sort of a weaker membrane. So this is really important. This will help us solve disease. This will do a whole bunch of cool stuff in the future. So anyway, we'll leave it there. Membrane potential. And we'll be talking a lot more about this in the future. Anyway, see you guys. Thanks. Go look at Chip Talks on YouTube. Lots of good stuff. Bye.